In the last episode of Captain America and the White Wolf, we see Sam finally taking on the mantle, sporting a wonderfully comic accurate costume and kicking ass with his now friend Bucky. However, now that a couple of weeks have passed since the show ended, neither of them is the main point of every movie, TV oriented creator's video. It's not even the quote unquote main antagonist, it's the other Captain America, John Walker. His arc was one of the most interesting to follow in the series, but how it ends sparked a lot of discussion. Has John really redeemed himself in the last episode? Does his decision to save hostages instead of chasing Carly really fly in the face of everything we knew about him? I don't think so. Hello there, welcome to the channel. I am Ray of the Molten Sun, and I am a huge Marvel Cinematic Universe fan. I've seen all the movies, all the TV shows, well, except for Hellstrom and yes, including Inhumans, which in itself was a harrowing experience. I've been watching them all with my wife, and my role is usually to explain the connection between the movies and shows, who the characters are and where we've seen them before. Now, last year has been a terrible drought in terms of MCU content, but in hindsight, I think it was beneficial to take a break after Endgame, and I'd love to talk about my Endgame experience and MCU as a whole one day, but today is not that day. Today, I want to share my thoughts on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series and dive deeper into the character of John Walker. The way I approach any movies or TV shows is I like to go in as blind and spoiler-free as possible. But once an episode is done, I go online and watch reviews, theories, speculations, etc. Usually I tend to agree with the general consensus among the community, with some differences here and there obviously. And that brings me to a crucial point about media consumption in general, and even broader on how we interpret life itself. Every single being has their own perspective, their own opinion and feelings, and that creates their reality. Every opinion on a situation, a movie, a game is valid, no matter how much we might disagree with someone. As such, I want to emphasize that all you'll hear today is my opinion, my perspective. It's not meant to be a definitive, objective truth. To be frank, I don't think and I don't believe that an objective truth really exists. So please, don't see it as me trying to disprove other creators' opinions or whatnot. My goal is to show you a different perspective and only that. I watched a few videos about the topic and that motivated me to share my thoughts since they differ significantly from theirs. I invite you to discuss this in the comments section below, as I'd love to interact with all of you, but please, be respectful towards each other and open to different opinions. With that long disclaimer out of the way, let's jump right in. I enjoyed The Falcon and the Winter Soldier a lot. It was a completely different experience than WandaVision, which I loved too. It was more like a traditional MCU movie, a sequel to Winter Soldier and Civil War. It even had the same music, oh, bless you, Henry Jackman. I love his soundtrack, and popped off when I heard his Winter Soldier theme or the Cap's Promise notes in the first two episodes. Music really sets the tone for me and I felt right at home. I loved Sam's story and I was very positively surprised by how they handled racism in the show. I fully expected them to beat around the bush and back down after the first episode, but man, was that scene with him, Bucky and the cops painfully realistic. You know, the one in front of Isaiah Bradley's home, where the cops ask Bucky specifically if Sam is bothering him, even though they just had a discussion. Even the way they tackled Isaiah's past and how Sam's skin color is a factor in his struggle with accepting the mantle. Fantastic job. I didn't cry with my wife when Wanda was saying goodbye to her kids and Vision, but the scene where Sam brings Isaiah to the museum and shows him the dedicated section, I teared up. It hit me so hard. As for Bucky, I agree with other creators that he was underused, and I really think the final title card should have had his title changed from Winter Soldier 2, since he left that identity behind him. His dynamic with Sam, however, was built convincingly, and even my wife, who didn't like Bucky before, enjoyed him as a character much more now, as he is more human. I'm not touching Sharon Carter, as her change was the most jarring, and I really hope they either build her power broker persona a little more, or maybe there's something else going on. One of the comments I saw somewhere suggested she might be a Skrull, and let's be real, at this point with Secret Wars coming, anyone can be a Skrull. I will, however, say that Zemo steals the show every time he's on screen. I enjoyed him in Civil War, but this show takes him to new heights. He's fun, but he's also dedicated to his cause and consistent, which I cannot say about the main antagonist. We all love the dance scene, and I was very happy to see his trademark mask, though I hoped it would factor more into the story, because as it is, putting it on was completely pointless. Carly and the Flag Smashers were not convincing at all, even though I was involved in Sam's conversation with her and him trying to convince her to stop. She's very inconsistent. They position her as a misunderstood character, but then she blows up some innocent people so that we remember that she's a villain. That's downright insulting to the audience. We really don't need to have a black and white villain. There are a lot of grays in the spectrum. And that is precisely why I don't understand why John Walker's character gets so much negative reception, when he's exactly what Carly was unable to be, a multi-dimensional antagonist. Not a bad guy, not a flat-out villain like Malekith or Obadiah Stane, but a well-fleshed-out human being. It has to be said first that Wyatt Russell does a phenomenal job being unlikable from the moment we set our eyes on him at the end of episode 1. With him usurping the title of Captain America in our eyes, and Bucky's, his action and what he says is purposefully constructed so that we hate him. I want to take a second here to condone any actions taken against the actor for the role he plays. People really need to stop associating actors with the characters they play and separate the real life from the on-screen life. Seriously, he was harassed for doing his job super well, and it sucks that this still happens. The internet gives everyone that anonymity and dehumanizes others. It sickens me. Please, be respectful towards the actors, creators, and all beings. The anonymity does not give you the right to disrespect anyone. John is a military man, a distinguished man, with great track record. He has a loving partner, his friends respect him. The choice of making him the new Captain America is a result of complete misunderstanding of who Captain America is by the government. They just needed a pawn, someone to parade and wave the flag, to inspire, quote unquote. They don't care that Steve rejected the government, that he even fought to keep his freedom and, more importantly, responsibility for his actions. That was the whole point of Civil War. John is a good soldier, but does that make him a good Captain America? Clearly the show demonstrates it doesn't. He has to deal with unreal and somewhat conflicting expectations from the government, from the people, even from Sam, Bucky or Lemar, his best friend. He can't handle the pressure. He's spiraling down into his more evil impulses. And to be fair, Sam and Bucky only make it worse in my eyes. Bucky specifically hates him just because he calls himself Captain America and wields the shield, antagonizing him on every occasion. Until episode 6, everything he does clearly sets him up as the main villain. It all culminates in him taking the serum, seeing Lemar die, and committing a war crime by killing that Flag Smasher, the one that looked up to Steve when he was a kid. It's brutal and unforgivable. Plus, it's consistent with what Abraham Erskine said about the serum in the first Captain America. It enhances what the person already has in them. Good becomes great, and bad becomes worse. Does this mean John is a bad person? Again, I want to emphasize, John is a good soldier. He's clearly done good things, right? From his conversation with Lemar, we know that their hands weren't always clean. They saved lives, they succeeded in the past, but there has been a cost. There have been consequences. But still, they made the choices, the sacrifices. That scene also shows the dualism between Lemar and Sam. Lemar said without hesitation that he would take the serum given the chance, while earlier Sam, asked by Zemo, similarly with no second thoughts, said he wouldn't. It's the difference between a soldier and a hero. ends justifying the means and not trading lives. John is a foil for what being a Captain America really means. A good man. And as such, he is a perfect foil for Sam. What follows the murder of the Flag Smasher is a battle of these ideologies, with Bucky thrown into the mix. Throughout the fight, John is over the edge. He says things like, "Why are you making me do this?" and "I am Captain America." He's clearly lost control, and it ends with his arm broken and Cap's shield taken. He's at his lowest point. He receives a military discharge. He's disgraced, no longer Captain America in the eyes of the government and the people. At this point, he has a choice. He can either acknowledge what he's done and take responsibility, or continue the state of denial. He chooses the latter and starts lying to save his ego, to justify his actions. He lies at the hearing, he lies to Lemar's family that he killed his killer, where in fact it was Carly who killed Lemar. He's spiraling even further down on his emotions, lies and self-righteousness, convinces himself that he is the Captain America. He creates his own shield and plans to rejoin the fray. And that's how episode 5 ends. Let's stop right here for now. Episode 5 just ended. We have a week until episode 6 drops. What's everybody's expectation? I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm fully expecting John to be the final boss. Carly being sidelined to focus on cap action. Sam versus John. Final battle to determine the true meaning of the shield, of being a Captain America. John going full villain and becoming the anti-Captain America. That was my prediction because of the point where John is now. In his eyes, he's been betrayed by the country he believed in and served, for whom he sacrificed his life and dedicated his career. He lost the respect and approval of the government. He convinced himself that he did the right thing and will continue to do the right thing because it's all he has. It's his goal, his reason to be. This is his lowest point. My expectations for him are realistic after all that he's done and consistent with his arc in my eyes. However, I made one huge mistake, and I'll explain later what that was. Episode 6 drops. Sam has become a fully fledged Captain America, flying around and saving people. Carly acting irrationally as usual, threatening the life of the hostages from the GRC Council. With Sam busy saving some members that were taken by helicopter, it's Bucky who has to save the ones trapped in the vans. He manages to bust open one of them, the other, however, is still in danger. Just when John shows up, with his costume and his homemade shield. I found it extremely funny when Carly just kicked it away and it already had a dent. While the two of them fight, I still expect my prediction to come to life. And just then, John stands before another decision. The remaining van with the hostages has been pushed into a construction site and will fall, injuring or killing them in the process. He has to choose, save the hostages or pursue Carly. His choice completely shocks me. My expectations get shattered as he proceeds to do the right thing and attempts to save the hostages. He lets go of his lust for revenge to once again save lives. And this moment is seen as a redemption for him, and as such is heavily criticized. But before I go deeper into that, I want to address quickly the wrap up of the arc. He gets to join Sam and Bucky in tracing Carly, says nothing about Sam being the new Captain America, and gets rewarded with becoming the US agent. In all honesty, I was disappointed by no dialogue with him addressing Sam's change, and him joining Bucky in tracing the remaining Flag Smashers was silly and definitely too much. They should have left him at the point where he tried to save the hostages and show him as US agent at the end. That's one criticism I can agree with. Also, becoming a US agent isn't a reward. He embraces his soldier persona. He still believes he does the right thing and is ready to get his hands dirty to get results, as encouraged by Contessa Valentina, who might be working to establish a group of morally ambiguous heroes, but for what purpose? We don't know. With that out of the way, let's look at John's final decision and how it affects his character arc. The way I see him, he's a victim of the military system, a follower of orders, a a true soldier. At the end of episode 5, he's broken, betrayed, and pushed aside. He's at his lowest point, as I said multiple times. He was on his way to becoming a full-blown villain. My predictions for episode 6 and where his character arc was going were a result of that mistaken mentality that people tend to fall back on, that everything is either black or white, that there is no grey. Instead, the writers took him in a more ambiguous direction, and I love it. In my opinion, his final decision doesn't take away from his character arc at all. It actually shows that despite difficult circumstances, trouble with coping and processing emotions, he still can do the right thing. Does that redeem all his past actions? Not even a little bit. The good act doesn't wash away the bad, nor the bad the good. He made the right choice in the moment, but his previous actions, especially a blatant murder of a surrendering man as the world watches, are not forgiven nor forgotten. The US government doesn't just reinstate him, they don't welcome him back with open arms. He is a flawed character, but far from one-dimensional. He wants to do good and he does it the only way he knows how, the military way. And for all this, I much prefer him as a character who isn't 100% bad for the sake of being bad. Would I enjoy him if he was the final boss of the season? Probably yes, but not on the same level as I enjoy him now. I just hope that sharing my thoughts provoked you to rethink the way you see John Walker, US agent. Has he redeemed himself? No. Is the part where he teams up with Bucky like nothing happened silly and out of place? Yes, it is. However, his final decision does not ruin him in my eyes, only enhances his uniqueness as a more grey character on the good-bad spectrum, and I can't wait to see more of him as we go forward. He's no Captain America, that's for sure, and that title is now in Sam's hands. Thank you so much for watching. I really wanted to try something new for the channel, and seeing one creator after another criticizing John's character, I had to add my voice to the contrary. If you enjoy this, be sure to do the YouTube usuals, like, subscribe, bell, etc. Especially comment though. I'd love to hear your thoughts on John. Do you agree with the general community's consensus, or does my view speak to you more? Or maybe you have your own take on this. I'd love to engage in a civil conversation with all of you. And if you'd like to see me discuss more MCU topics in general or have more videos like this one, let me know. If you'd like to see more of me, come and join me on twitch.tv/themoltensun, where I currently go through my first playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake. You can expect a video on that as well in the future. In the meantime, thank you once again for watching, stay strong, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!